Hey Gators and sports fans, get all your Gator talk, news, analysis, and opinions on the Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning podcast. Find us on your favorite podcast platform or watch us on Facebook Live between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. every weekday. Pod Up, because we are Gator fans. So say it's great to be a Florida Gator.
Good morning. Welcome to a Tuesday edition of Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. It's Tuesday. That means we have Buddy Martin. We'll have him on the Titan MR hotline in just a second. And then the second portion of the day, we'll have ESPN basketball analyst Mark Wise breaking down college basketball. If you got any questions for Mark, shoot them to us, and we'll go from there. Real quick before we get to Buddy, Chris says, good morning, Shane. I saw that Texas is going after David Cutcliffe per 24/7 Sports to mentor young Arch Manning. Yeah, Arch Manning has narrowed his choices to basically the schools that I said he would. It's Ole Miss, which that's just in there just for family purposes. The other three schools are Georgia, Alabama, and Texas. So we shall see where old Arch ends up next year. But let's go to the Titan MR hotline, and we're joined by the one and the only, the host of the Buddy Martin Show. You can check him out every weeknight, Monday through Thursday, since he takes off Fridays now.
Yeah.
It's good old Buddy Martin. How you doing, buddy?
Good, Shane. How you doing this morning? Good to talk to you again. And, excuse me for being irreverent. I just don't care about Arch Manning.
What does it matter? He's still got a whole nother year of high school.
Yeah, let's wait on that. Okay, a lot of things should happen. Now, look, what I'd like to see with a Gator uniform, yeah. Well, the odds happen, not very good. But, hey,
No.
I love the Manning family. I love what they do and what they represent. But I'm not really obsessing about what Arch Manning is going to go. And I wouldn't blame Texas for hiring his old coach, for Peyton's old coach. You know, I think Cutcliffe is a hell of a quarterback coach, but he'll just be an analyst. He won't be a coach. So
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, buddy, let's start first before we jump into Gator stuff. I know you live down in Ocala. If our people around the world here that watch our program aren't, I'm sure they know that. But I know you've been kind of watching the Winter Olympics due to some Ocala folks in the Winter Olympics.
yeah,
I guess I'm embarrassed to say I still have yet to turn on NBC and watch any Olympics. I just haven't even thought about it.
yeah.
You've been watching a lot of the Winter Olympics, buddy?
No, not a lot. I mean, I didn't watch last night. I know Brittany Bowe. She's, of course, the Ocalan, who is the flag bearer, one of two. And she represents three people who were on this. Ocala, the hotbed of skating. Who knew, right? And they skated and they trained in a what was an old bowling alley. They converted into an inline skating rink, used to call them. You know about those. You went to Mississippi. I did too as a boy. And they have these three Olympians from Ocala, which is unusual. Now, I've seen Brittany Bowe before. I think she's just as a time qualifier, as my wife pointed out. She's racing against the time to get to the next level. And that gets confused. But I haven't watched a lot. But I did watch one thing I thought blew me away. And I'll get to the theme later, but this young Russian skater, I mean, I have never seen anybody so graceful and so great. I'm not an expert on it, but Kamila Valieva, if I got her name right, 15 years old, okay, 15. She's so good that she fell and still won the gold medal.
Really?
Oh, she's amazing. You can notice it. Everything you think ought to be in a skater, the grace and the way she attacks it and the routine, and she's amazing. And it just blows me away how skilled some of these young people are in things, everything from music to athletics. I mean, 15 years old. My grandson is almost 15 years old, for crying out loud. So she blows me away. So I haven't been watching a lot. I'm not big on downhill skiing. I mean, okay, yeah, I know American fell yesterday and won the defending gold medal champion. But I'll be watching. But the thing about the Olympics, and I've covered several of them, is they build. if you get in early, and then you about the first weekend, you begin to pick up on what's going on, what the themes are, who the main players are, and whatever, and it gets better. So it beats watching Netflix late at night,
Well, I don't have Netflix all season. So Rick says, Shane, expand your sports coverage. Watch some curling. Yeah, I don't mind curling. I just haven't got into the Olympics for whatever reason. And I was looking on my phone at it had some Olympic coverage on there somewhere. And it had the ROC. And I'm like, who in the world is the ROC?
The Russians, yeah.
Yeah. So Russia, correct me if I'm wrong, they're not allowed to participate in the Olympics. But you can have the Russian Olympic Committee, whatever they're called.
I guess that ROC.
How that just makes no sense to me.
Now, Shane, don't get me into the politics of all that. I don't know the answer to that, but I just know obviously they found a way to get them in, and they're dominant in figure skating, by the way, dominant and several other sports. So I try not to think about too much about the countries. I know that we have a political thing. I mean, look. When I went to Lake Placid, I was there in 1980. I was at the game that the Americans won and beat the Russians in the semifinals, hanging off the side of the bleachers because I didn't get there in time. I was working, and I watched the last 6 minutes of that game hanging from the bleachers. It was one of the most dramatic nights in journalism I've ever had. Unbelievable. But I got to tell you that, I mean, I didn't like I can tell you the splits on the speed skaters or bobsledders or whatever they do now, but I like competition, and you would too if you got into it. But I see a young person like this young girl from Russia, Valieva. She is magnificent, and she's I mean, forget age. So I don't get too much into the Olympics because, like I said, 1980, it was the first time I ever heard USA chants in any sport ever. It was at that game because the Russians had just invaded Afghanistan, and it was like a standoff. Here we are again now. The Russians are going to invade Ukraine. It seems like every time there's a Winter Olympics, the Russians are invading something. But there was a sense of patriotism in 1980 that's held over since then. So I'll never forget that night, Lake Placid, in that game, whatever. But in terms of the Russian winter sports, I'm not a big fan.
Yeah, Donna asks here on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mel Law, isn't ROC Republic of China? No, it's a Russian Olympic something.
I think it's committee, but I'm not sure. We can Google it and find out.
Yeah, somebody, one of our loyal listeners will let us know that. Yeah. Buddy, so we got a Facebook Live here too. You're a baseball guy, and John brings up a good point here. He says, if Major League Baseball stays on strike, what do you think that means for college baseball and college softball as far as TV coverage? So I'm thinking right now, college baseball usually has their weekend series on the SEC network or what have you. Softball has really gotten a lot of coverage lately. And usually the only, I'm thinking of the national networks, not your Major League Baseball network or any of that stuff, but like ESPN, they usually have a Major League game on Monday night and Wednesday night, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe some of the series in college go into Monday, so maybe they put those games on. I don't know, but you're not going to see a whole lot of, because the Wednesday games in college baseball are usually, Florida playing UNF, those type series. So I don't know how much TV coverage they would get, but it's a good question. I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, the weekday games don't get much. They don't even play their best pitchers, as you know. And I mean, I've just gotten back with baseball through the Rays because I like to watch it at night as I'm prepping for my show. And I've gotten to where I've followed the team kind of close the last couple of years, and I've enjoyed baseball. And I'm sure hoping the Rays are going to come back intact and they're going to play. But I don't know. You can't get your hopes up. I don't know. I think it would obviously help the viewership, son, in college baseball. But because of the networks and because of their midweek games are not that big, whatever, I don't think it will really be supplanting anything. I don't know necessarily. It might help a little bit, but no, I don't think. When I think about baseball, you're a fan of this team and that team, whatever, but I don't see necessarily college and Major League Baseball fans being the same.
No. Dan says on Facebook Live, if they have the ROC in Olympics, they should just let the football teams or whatever go to postseason play without coaches instead of going on probation. It's kind of very similar to what they're doing. All right, buddy. We know on here we're going to talk golf real quick, then we're going to get into Gators. This weekend at Pebble Beach, your wife's favorite golfer, Jordan Spieth.
Oh yeah.
We talked about it yesterday with JC, but we talked about it on your show last night. You had not seen it. You did Google it, correct?
I did, thanks to you. Yes. Well, I mean, it was scary. Okay, but you missed the bigger picture here. All right. I look at the heritage of the game, and I see it was dicey, and some of the announcers got kind of, got a little scared, Nick Faldo and whatever. And there was an overhead view of the drone, as you pointed out to me last night. It's like, I don't know, 70 feet down that crevice, and it's a scary sight. But, I kind of like it. And here's why. There are certain golfers who have a flair, who are gopher broke guys. I know Faldo says if I was your caddy, I'd take the club out of your hand. I want to hit that shot, and I get it. And maybe it wasn't so-called smart to play it that way. As I recall, he hit it to the green anyway. But the thing about the great golfers that we like, and this goes back a long time in your granddaddy's days, when a guy named Arnold Palmer came along and started hitting the ball in the woods and chasing it down, and he would try any shot from anywhere, anytime. And that made it bold and exciting. There's Arnie out there battling away, trying to make a part. Sonny Ballesteros, they said he could get it up and down from a parking lot. He was an amazing golfer, and you love to see that adventure. Phil Mickelson, he'll go for it, right?
Right.
And there's some of that in Jordan Spieth, and that's one thing.
I agree with that, but hell, this is a little different than like hitting a shot out of the pine trees at Augusta, hooking it around on hole, at Amen Corner. This, if his foot slips or the side, or there have a lot of earthquakes out there, buddy.
Yeah, I know.
You just don't know how stable it is. I tell you this, Phil Mickelson would not have hit that shot because he couldn't have got around to hit it left-handed.
Left-handed, yeah, I couldn't do it. Well, you make a good point, being scary, and it was this awesome sight. I get all the strategy. I'm talking about from the fan standpoint.
I get it.
Just put a little daring into the game. Golf's a boring game for a lot of people.
I'm just glad we're not talking about Jordan Spieth falling 70 feet after the shot.
That's what makes it. Look at auto racing, how dangerous that is. I mean, look, I get it, and I understand. You're correct. If you haven't seen it, Google it and see. It's a little short clip, and it was scary but exciting. I think it's unfortunate he bogeyed 17 was it? Knocking himself out of that thing, and 17 is that famous hole, where Tom Watson hit it up and down out of the 3-foot rough. And I told you my story about that. I was standing there when he hit his tee shot in the rough, and I left and walked back to 18 to watch Nicklaus win the Open. When I heard the roar and looked up, and I said to the people standing on the fence, "What happened?" He said, "Watson just chipped it in." I said, "No way. I'm thinking he won't hold it on the green." So 17 is a very, very famous hole at Pebble.
Yes, it is. Wrap Spot's expanding, folks. They're opening their second location in the heart of Gainesville at 1931 North Main Street. Wrap Spot's teamed up with Vibrant Vinyl Works to offer color change wraps, advertising wraps, custom striping, hood wraps, and wall wraps. Speaking with Buddy Martin.
Hey, it's 56 days to the Masters, Shane. We're allowed to talk golf on your show, my show.
Absolutely.
They shot me down when I talk about it on mine. So.
Yeah, well, you must have a different clientele. I can't wait for Augusta this year. Hopefully, they'll grow the rough. That's what I want them to do. Buddy, let's talk Gator sports a little bit. Obviously, let's start with the women's basketball team. Kelly Rae Finley. They win another one. They're 7-3 in conference play. They're actually ranked now, I think, 19th in America. Mm-hmm. She's still an interim coach. I understand if you read social media, everybody's and I saw a clip by Kim Mulkey, the new coach at historical coach LSU at LSU, saying, "What are you waiting for?" Mm-hmm. I was thinking about this and talking to a couple of people. Mm-hmm. I want to say, and I could be wrong, and they could be wrong, but with it being a state institution, there's a lot of legal things when you get ready to hire a coach you have to have so many people maybe interview for it. I could be wrong, but they were thinking that's along the lines that it will happen once the season's over, but that's why it hadn't happened now.
Are you saying because she's white it hurts her?
No. I think because anytime, if it's a state institution, and then a job, you have to have X amount of people. Yeah. And like I said, I don't know if it's right or wrong. Yeah. There may be more people here know that we do. But anyway.
Hire who you want. I mean, she's hired herself. There's no way she can't get this job unless, we talked about it on my show last night, what if Auburn swoops in? I mean, if Harvard jumps in and hires her back, that's her.
Well, nobody's going to hire her right now during the season.
I get it, but you can make deals with your agent anytime. And now, I don't think that will happen. I doubt Harvard can pay what Florida can play in terms of women's basketball. But for the first time since we've been doing our shows together, it's been a couple of years, I don't remember, on mine and yours, is that we're talking about women's basketball.
Yeah.
And she, not only did they win the game, they came back late in the game when they were down by 4 and won at Georgia. And she beat her their fifth ranked team. And they blew out Tennessee, and so they're playing so good, and they haven't got their star player. So, I mean,
star player's gone in the transfer portal.
I know, exactly. But, I mean, look, this is an amazing coaching job. She's the hottest. Billy Napier should be so lucky. So, I mean, she has done an amazing job. She's got to be. And I feel for Scott Strickland, who's got enough pressure on him right now, getting hammered about not hiring her. But even Kim Mulkey says, hire the girl. Hire the girl.
Yeah, I'm just saying, and I don't know, like there's got to be a reason why. And maybe they've already agreed on something. And Kelly Ray's like, look, we're playing too well right now. We don't need any distractions. Let's keep plugging away the way we are.
Could be, yeah.
So, all right, buddy, the men's basketball team plays horrible in the first half, didn't play great in the second half, finds a way to win in overtime. Mm-hmm. I'm going to talk more about this with Mark Wise.
Yeah, he's good.
They're finding ways to win. Not a very good basketball team, but they're still in the mix to make the tournament, and that's the number one goal.
Yeah. Well, you made a great point last night on my show, and it's something you ought to ask Mark about it, because I think you're exactly right. There's part of me, and I love that Castle is back, because as we pointed out last night, and one of our callers, our listeners, said, don't forget the defensive end. But when he's in the game in the low post, it's obviously excellent, but it slows the game down. And some of the rest of the players kind of stand back and wait for him to make a play. When he's not in the game, they're more aggressive, and they get better play out of, Fleming and those guys, it seems to me. They hit more threes. I mean, their three-point shooting is just getting a little better, but it's been horrible. And sometimes they rely too much on Castleton. And you brought up the point, I think you call it, what you call it, helter-skelter or something. You like
just chaotic basketball.
Chaotic basketball, yeah. I'm with you on that. I think they really are a more aggressive team, and they play. So I'm wondering, ask Mark, is there a way to have both? Could you sit Castleton to rest for 8 minutes or whatever, and then bring back the other smaller lineup? I don't know. I don't know basketball. Mark can answer that for you.
Yeah, we'll definitely talk to Mark. And if you want your questions, shoot them to us via the text line or on Facebook Live. All right, buddy, let's talk. Before we get to Gator football, let's talk Super Bowl. Yeah. Sunday, the Rams are favored over the Cincinnati Bengals. Mm-hmm. Buddy, you excited for the Super Bowl? You having a big party? You going to have people over? What you going to be doing?
Watching with my wife every year. I don't like those parties. I like to watch.
I don't either. Because nobody watches the game.
No, I want to sit and watch the game. I watch it by myself usually. So my wife and I watch it. And, I don't start thinking about it until about Thursday before. I've never liked the lapse. I know it's better for the teams. I'd like to back the day when they played the games the next week.
I agree.
Andrews are part of it. Whatever, go through another one to rest them up. Hell, it'd be better if they had 3 weeks, right? But they don't have it. So they're going to play it. I think you told me the Rams are favored by 4. It's the Joe Burrow Bowl. Look, I was thinking not only is this guy done really, really well, look what he's done. Number 1 draft pick, right? National championship, Heisman Trophy. He's got the 4 most prestigious things going in college football, and I don't know if they will ever do that again. But Burrow, I know you're going to pick the Rams, but I'm telling you, watch out for this kid. There's something special about him. I know he's got problems with his offensive line, but they may find a way. Although I did pick the Rams as one of my teams to make it. I did not pick Cincinnati, but I think they got a shot here. And it's going to be a great show opportunity for Matthew Stafford and his redemption tour as well. So I don't know. I'm not excited. No, I'm not. But I will give that one as we get ready.
I'm not a big Super Bowl party guy because I relate a Super Bowl party to when people go to the Swamp or any facility, big arena, to a skybox. You might as well sit in your kitchen and watch the game because not one person in those skyboxes is watching the game. It's basically a party. All right, so buddy, let's switch gears a little bit before we talk Gators. You've been covering sports for a long, long time. Mm-hmm. Have you ever seen anything like what's going on at Auburn?
I've seen some weird things in my time, okay? But I don't know that I've ever seen a program so out of control. And I talk about this with my friends. I do a show with some guys called Sidelines, and France does it too. And one of the hosts, Rob Brown's an Auburn guy. He's from there. He used to work there. He knows a lot about the program. They can't believe it. And it's all about politics. And so, of course, the guy who owns Yellowwood calls the shots. What's his name? Jimmy Rain. And apparently he's getting his guy. And now who will end up getting the job if they fire Harsin? And by the way, if they do, I read last night, I think we talked about it, that Auburn will have paid $40 million in the last year and a half for guys not to coach. $40 million, okay? So consequently, if Harsin gets fired, now it's a question, will they hire Kevin Steele, which I think is Rain's guy, or Hugh Freeze? Now, I don't just mean this to sound ugly or salacious anyway, but as someone said, if they're worried about the rumored affair, which is one of the things people whisper, you can't really say it, allegedly associated with Harsin, and there's no proof of that whatsoever. By the way, I don't want to say that. But you're gonna hire Hugh Freeze with his background? I mean, think about that for a minute. So yeah, I don't think I've seen anything quite like it. It's a laughing stock. Is what it is. It's sad, but you think, how did this happen? Oh, I'll tell you how it happened. They let the inmates run the asylum. When you let big boosters run your program, this is what you get.
Yeah, Auburn's got way too many chefs in the kitchen trying to run their program. So it's
and you got the number one basketball team in the country. Go figure.
Yeah, everybody forgets about that, but it's it's a shame. I don't think Brian Harsin is going to make it. And then what happens to these kids that just committed to him and his coaching staff? I mean, obviously, I guess they can transfer. I've lost track of all the damn rules.
Yeah, I know.
Joseph says on Facebook Live, Harsin already said he has no intentions of negotiating his buyout. If they want him gone, they're going to have to pay the full price.
Well, fine, whatever. That's longer talk. I get it. Whatever. I got bigger fish to fry and things to think about. Like, I got to worry about why Ted Lasso is being delayed. Okay, the season 3 of Ted Lasso is not being made yet, and I want my Ted Lasso back.
I've yet to watch 1 minute of Ted Lasso.
You will love it.
Well, I don't have Netflix, so I can't watch it, buddy.
Well, spend a buck for crying out loud.
I don't watch enough TV to even
you're watching
sign up for it.
Some jackleg basketball league from someplace else because you're a basketball nut. But spend $10 or $50, whatever. Come on, Shane. You got money in your buried.
It's not that. It's just that, first of all those apps and stuff and things on the TV drive me insane.
This is not that.
I just like regular cable stuff.
Yeah, no, you're like get off my lawn guy. By the way, I owe you an apology. You were correct. I did have a problem with my audio last night, and Brendan came over and fixed it. That's why you kept hearing the echo. I wasn't hearing it, but anyway, I apologize, but we got it straightened out. But no, I mean, I'm worried about that. And I want to know. I need to learn more about these young coaches. There's so many young coaches. I did not know anything about Mike McDaniel. Do you know anything about him at all?
I know nothing about him. And then after your show last night, I looked him up a little bit.
Okay. All right.
Still don't know anything about him.
You know where he played?
You know where he played? He didn't play football.
Yeah, he did. Yale.
He did not play.
Well, it said played at Yale, is what I read. But anyway,
I read that he has never played one down of football at any level, not even in high school.
The story I read was out of a site from the Broncos.
We're going to have somebody research that. Give me one of my researchers.
Okay.
Did Mike, what's his name again?
Mike McDaniel.
Mike McDaniel.
Yeah.
Somebody research it. Maybe I misread it, buddy, but I thought
maybe
it said that he had never played one down of football in his entire life.
Be. All right. So he's only 5'9", by the way. Think about that for a minute. 5'9", look it up at a 6'8" lineman, what that looks like. But he's such a popular guy that some of the players of the 49ers, I'm thinking about it because Cooper Kupp, whoever it was, said, I want to written in my contract, this guy stays as long as I'm here. He's a smart guy, very smart. Didn't have a great bet. Shanahan found him. I found out what we had in common. When he was a boy, in northern Colorado, he used to go to Bronco practices in a town called Greeley, where we went to camp. And that's where he met the Shanahans. And that's how he ended up getting hired. And to think he was like practically a ball boy. I don't know what he was, but he was a kid. He became the head, he's now the head coach. It's amazing, the Miami Dolphins. So, and these kids are coming to you from everywhere. Like I told you, there's some young geniuses out there we don't know about. And I mentioned the skater from Russia. Remember her name. She's amazing. Kamala Valieva. And then you talk about a guy like Mike McNair come out of nowhere. What are they doing? Playing video games, these guys? They don't play football. And you look around the young talent. Do you watch American Idol? No, you never do. There's some amazing kids, 15 and 16 years old, who are phenomenal singers. So my of the mind, there's this generation of geniuses out there that we're just learning about.
Yeah, I just looked him up, buddy. It does say in his Wikipedia that he went to Yale and was a member of the football team. Okay. But I could have sworn they told me that he never played it down because
maybe he never played. Maybe he's just a member of the team. Maybe he never.
Well, that's true. But somebody said he didn't even play in high school. So who knows? But we'll see. It's interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting that he's now the head coach.
Really?
Of the Miami Dolphins. So.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
All right, buddy. What you hearing out of Gator football right now?
Well, I heard there was a conference yesterday with Napier, and I found out there was some special event that they put on for Gator Collective. And if you're not following Gator Collective, you need to because they're doing some amazing things. And full disclosure here, I do an interview every Thursday with an athlete and may have a business relationship. Right now, I do not. I love what they're doing. And Napier talked to this group. I guess they're like fundraisers or people who boosters, whatever. Obviously, that he's told him he needs a lot more money. And the Gator Collective is more of a fan thing. You can afford the $15,000, $20,000 contributions, but you can afford, what you pay for a Starbucks coffee once a week, to be a member. And so what he said there, I read a story last night, and I'm going to get this guy on. Bill Sykes is his name. He does some stuff for Read and Reaction out of Jacksonville, and he's not a football player, but he's got a great analytical mind. And I read it's a long story about the deficiency of offensive linemen since 2010 in Gainesville, and how Florida got into this particular problem. Now, I hope with their new coach, the offensive line coach they got from the Giants, is going to be to help plug that gap, and they've recruited some offensive linemen. And you talked about the talent level, and obviously Florida hadn't had that luxury of blowing people off the ball ever. I got a feeling we're going to see a little more power football than Napier, don't you?
Yeah. So he's going to do a really good job, man. He's done a remarkable job since he's been here, he and his staff, and it's going to take some time. Joseph says here, Gator Collective is going to be awesome. Give him my $6 a month, not much, but hey, I'm on a single dad income, and anything's better than nothing. Let me ask you this. John also said they announced yesterday that you'd be able to buy a player's jersey with their names and numbers. And
true.
Players get a percentage of it. I have zero idea why they haven't been doing that for years.
Because it wasn't legal. It wasn't.
Well, if there was a way to make it legal. Well, let me just say this. They could have sold jerseys with numbers on it, not so much give players a percentage of it.
True.
But I can't tell you how many people wanted to buy number 23 jersey, but you couldn't. You either had to buy the number 1 or the year or something like that. It was so silly.
I know.
So silly. We got a text here before we let you go, buddy.
Yeah.
It comes from Jimmy. Jimmy wants to know, hey, buddy, love listening to your show. I have a question about the Gator Collective. How much do the players make from the Gator Collective by doing the interviews on your show?
None from me. I don't pay them.
I guess he said, how much do the players make from Gator Collective?
I don't know, but they do get paid, and they pay them for any appearance they do. And I would never pay anybody to come on my show. I just don't do that.
Right.
I'm happy that the Jen Grosso does a great job of lining these kids up. And I got D1 Black on Thursday night, and I've learned a lot. I'm glad to have the opportunity. Now, this is a new thing, and it's a good question. I don't pay them anything, but they do get paid for any appearance. Some people got car deals. The AR-50 has got a car deal, which is the idea. They've got to make money, and Billy's on record as saying that he thinks that it's time to revenue share. He agrees with that. Now, you would have liked that when you played, I know, but it's and they're worried about the gap now, real or imagined, between them and other people like Texas A&M. You can believe what you want to about Texas A&M. I don't know. There's a lot of smoke coming out of there about what they did to get their class. Now, it's too bad when you have a good recruiting, you're going to get fingers pointed at you, because Jimbo's always been a good recruiter. But this is the world we lived in. And how much is too much? And how much should they get paid? And will there be regulation? I don't know. I just know this is the world we live in. Players are getting paid. I'm glad they're getting something for it. I don't like paying for interviews. It's not a good habit to do.
No. Buddy, good stuff as always. We got to go talk hoops with Mark Wise. Appreciate it, my man.
Sounds good. We have Ainsley and Scott Carter and David Moulton on Buddy Mark show tonight. Thank you.
All right.
Have a good night.
Good stuff. That's Buddy Mark. Join us on the Titan More Hotline. Take a quick timeout. Come back. Get your hoop questions ready for Mark Wise from ESPN. You're watching and listening to Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, won't back down. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Great Clips, it's gonna be great. Our Gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Celebration Point Town Center, South State Bank, Chris Doring Mortgage, Silverback Concrete Co. Some of our touchdown sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, Adams Rib Company, Doreen Wiebe Realtor, Caldwell Banker, MM Parish, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Wrap Spot, Okito America, Gators Dockside, Style Cuts, Big Mills Cheesesteaks. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, visit potupwithshane.com and click the advertise button. Again, thank you to all the great businesses that support the show. If you like what we are doing here, make sure you follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. At South State Bank, we understand that small businesses need a community business partner they can rely on. South State has 4 convenient Alachua County locations. South State Bank, banking forward, member FDIC. Now we're going to go back to the Titan MR hotline, and we're joined by Mark Wise, ESPN basketball analyst. Good morning, Mark. How are you?
Shane, I'm doing great, man. We're in the middle of hoops in the league schedule, and it's hoops weather right now here in Gainesville. So life is good.
We got a quick question here, and you and I were kind of talking about it before break. John wants to know, hey, Mark, why does it seem like you call so many Gator games? Not complaining that you do, because you do a good job. I was just curious.
What they have done this year, let's go back to last year in COVID, and we're all doing home kit games. As a matter of fact, my home kit setup is right behind me. So that's kind of what it looks like, if you'll excuse the Ted Lasso shirt. And so this year, what they've tried to do is keep people closer to their homes, meaning if they don't have to travel, then it saves them some money. So it's sort of a hybrid from last year to this year. So my play-by-play partner lives in South Carolina. Our producer lives in Boston. And so that we work a lot with. And so we have had more Gator games. Dame Bradshaw has done a lot of Tennessee games because he lives in Knoxville. Tom Hart and Dave Neal have done a lot of Georgia games because they live in Atlanta. So that's kind of the reason why.
Mark, let's start with the national perspective. Obviously, Auburn's the number one team in the country. We'll get to them.
Yeah.
But outside the conference, give me a couple of teams that you think have a chance to make the Final Four and win it all.
Well, obviously Gonzaga. Offensively, they are elite on so many different levels. I think the team that probably our part of the country hasn't seen a lot of that's really good is Arizona. They just, I mean, they are so skilled on the offensive end. In terms of the Big Ten, I don't know that there's a Final Four team in there. I know there is. Wisconsin with Johnny Davis would probably be at the head of my list. Purdue with Ivy has a definite chance. And then when you move over the ACC, only Duke there. And then is there anybody outside of the power conferences? I mean, you have to include Villanova in the conversation just because of the respect for Jay Wright. So I think there are probably 8 teams maybe that can win it all. Kentucky is in that mix, especially the way they're playing right now. And they've gotten healthy, and I think they've kind of embraced their roles. And so they have a luxury not many teams do in terms of the point guard and the postman, because they have 2 great point guards. And of course they've got Shibwe, who's a rebounding Pac-Man. And so from that perspective, I'll answer that this way. When people ask me, and I've done this on a couple of broadcasts, what does it take to make a run in the NCAA tournament? I think you have to have certain ingredients. Number one is you have to have NBA talent. Everybody always says, well, what about Butler? They went back-to-back years to the championship game. Last time I checked, Gordon Hayward played about 20 years in the league.
Still playing.
Still playing. So you've got to have NBA talent. You've got to be in the top 40 in Ken Palm's offensive and defensive efficiency. That has just been proven true over time. You've got to have 3-point presence. You've got to have rim protection. And then you've got to have good guard play. And if you don't have those things, if you're short on those things, you're not going to make a run in the NCAA tournament.
That's well said. Back to Kentucky. Cal's had a bunch of those one-and-done type players, and I'm not real familiar with his roster this year, but I've watched them play a couple times. They look way more athletic, and they look like they can actually score. And, I think this is one of the better teams he's ever had.
I agree. It took him a while to gel, and then I give Cal credit because after they lost at Notre Dame, a game in the 60s, he decided to let the reins loose a little bit on the offensive end and let them play much faster. They utilized Wheeler's quickness to push pace and tempo. Because of that has allowed Grady to thrive as a 3-point shooter. And you're exactly right, because Grady, that's the transfer from Davidson with over 2,000 career points, 3-point shooting extraordinaire. Grady is one of those guys that can give you 5 threes in any one particular game. And Kentucky last year couldn't make 5 threes in any game by the entire roster. So the transfer portal has allowed even, all up and down Division I a chance to retool your roster quickly. And Kentucky's done that because Grady's the transfer, Shibwe's the transfer, Wheeler's the transfer. So they start 3 transfers. And then the one-and-done guy I love. I mean, Ty Washington is sensational as a guard.
He really is. Auburn Tigers, number 1 team in America.
Yeah.
People can say what they want to say about Bruce Pearl, but he's a really good basketball coach. And you watch his team, it's amazing to me. I don't know enough about basketball, but his guards to me make that team go. They're tough. They're physical. They just make plays, and they have a great player in Jabari Smith. How good is Auburn?
Well, it's an interesting time to ask me that question because I just watched their game with Georgia yesterday, and because I have Georgia on the weekend, of course, they just won at Georgia by 2 points. And the guards, now remember, they didn't have Zep Jasper, the freshman starting guard, but Katie Johnson, Wendell Green, they do make big plays. But they were, let's just say they had shaky shot selection in the game against Georgia. I think Johnson took 22 shots in the game. Green took 17, and maybe the number one pick in the NBA draft took 7. Now, I'm positive that that's being addressed yesterday and today because they've got a big game tonight. And then, of course, game day is going to Auburn. The guy and Jabari Smith is wonderful. And I've got them one more time down the stretch here. But the guy that is the difference maker for them is Walker Kessler. That's the transfer from North Carolina. He changes the way the game is played because of his ability to impact the game at the rim. He's the leading shot blocker in the country. He alters other shots. When you start going down that checklist of what does it take to make a deep run, Auburn checks all those boxes. And I will throw this out until I saw the Georgia game. And that makes me a little concerned about the guard play. Do they make big plays? Yes, but they've got to make smarter plays, and they better understand in the round of 32 when you play an 8 seed or a 9 seed, and those guards do that, then you won't be playing any further in the tournament.
Good point. We get a bunch of Facebook lives here referring to transfers.
Yeah.
You know, basketball's always had some transfers, but now you watch a game, guy goes to the free throw line. An analyst like Mark Wise, 2 years ago he played at Fresno State. Last year he was at Wyoming, and now he's playing for the Kentucky Wildcats.
Right.
How crazy is it in college basketball now? And do you think that the head coaches are preferring to look into the portal than recruiting high school kids?
I don't know about that, but I think head coaches treat the portal like we treat taxes. Yeah, we need taxes. We need more taxes. Just don't tax me. Meaning they like the portal. They like getting players in the portal, but they hate losing players in the portal. They hate the roster management. That's where we are now. We're not going to put the genie back in the bottle. We're not going to talk about, and I just mentioned Kentucky. I mean, Florida's in the same boat. And Kentucky fans love this team. I mean, they absolutely adore them. Well, they didn't grow over time with them. That's just where we are right now. So we're not going to talk very much about player development. Look at how this guy has gotten so much better over the course of his career. That's just not going to happen. So the transfer portal is here to stay. The thing that I have said publicly over and over, no sport should have their transfer portal open during their season of play. I first saw this when the Utah quarterback got beat out in the third week of the season, and he entered the portal. I mean, what message are we sending to our young people that you can just quit? He's not going to be eligible any sooner when he transfers at the end of the semester. So I think no sport should have an open portal during their season of play.
Yeah, I agree with that. We got a long text here. I'm going to paraphrase from Dave. He basically wants to know, hey, Mark, do you think the Gators make the tournament, and how many SEC teams make the tournament?
Well, I've said this on several broadcasts, top half, bottom half. If you get in the top half of the league, which means the top 7, I think you're going to get in regardless. If you're in the 8 or 9 spot, you're going to be on the bubble, but some things are going to have to go your way. Florida is in that situation where there's not a lot of meat on their resume bone. They have 1 quadrant 1 win. That's an Ohio State win. They have 4 quadrant 1 opportunities remaining, and maybe 5 if some things go in a particular way. Like Vanderbilt is like in the 80s in the net right now. If they get in the 70s, that game becomes a a quadrant one opportunity. If they can pick up one more quadrant one win, it would be really helpful. But I look for them to be in that, Lenardi calls it the last four buys, last four in, first four out, next four out. They're probably going to be on that list until Selection Sunday.
All right, I got a question for you here. As I'm the Monday morning quarterback when it comes to basketball. We all have the answers.
Yeah, right.
Talking about the Gators.
Yeah.
With this crew, in my opinion, if I'm coaching the Gators, since I have all the answers, I think they need to play chaotic, like they did in the second half against Oklahoma State, to come back, just press, like watching at the YMCA, because I felt like we get easy baskets that way. I feel like we go half court offense, we have zero chance of scoring. Am I wrong there? And I know when Castleton came back the other night, we kind of slowed it down because we want to get the ball into him. But I just feel like for this team to win, we just need to be running and gunning up and down the court.
Well, if you do that, then you take away your best player. And so you definitely need him to get touches. Now, the Oklahoma State chaotic second half that they did, I thought that was a great coaching move to change that way. Without Castleton and without Jatobo, they almost became 3-point. I don't want to say dependent. It's worse than that. I mean, that's the only way they could score, was at the 3-point line. Here's the thing about pressing, though. Remember this, in basketball, unless you really, really practice this a lot, you can only press when you score. So in order to press, you got to score. And so I keep coming back to, you've heard me say this, Shane, even to you here. You ask coaches, what do they have to do to win? And they all regurgitate the same thing. We got to defend and rebound. Football coaches do the same thing. We got to defend and win the special
Not
teams.
this football coach or football
No,
player.
you don't.
You got to score.
No, you got to score, man. That's the bottom line. Yeah. So from this standpoint, I like Florida playing chaotic. Now, they're not the deepest team, and they're not a very good rebounding team, even with Castleton. I said that from day one. I thought that was going to be a struggle. So they've got some deficiencies, but guess what? Every team that you see on that bubble list, they've all got deficiencies in some way, shape, or form. So I looked the other day, teams between 30 and 60 in the net, and that's usually defines where the bubble teams reside. About half of them had 0 or 1 quadrant one win. So if you can pick up that second quadrant one win, man, that is a big feather in your hat.
2 more questions for him. We'll get you out of here. John wants to know, do you think Colin Castleton will be drafted in the NBA?
Probably not. No, he must show the ability to knock down the 3 ball. I think he's 0 for 7 on the year. That's the modern day NBA player. Unless you are just, Oscar Tshiebwe's ability to make an NBA roster will probably rely on his ability, his strength. I mean, that is his calling card, his ability to rebound. Colin Castleton doesn't have that as it relates to NBA players. I wish all fans could go and stand courtside at an NBA game. You'd be shocked at how big these guys are.
And athletic.
Yeah, the best players on the planet.
It's crazy. Dan says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Metal Law. Mark, what about those Lady Gators? Any thoughts on the women's basketball team?
Yeah, they're fun to watch. I haven't watched a complete game, but I've seen 5 minutes here and 10 minutes there. They've got a great point guard in Kiki Smith. I think isn't that right? I think that's right. And they have this unique rotation in the post that where they're rotating 4 players, and people have kind of wrapped their arms around the roles that they've played. That they seem to have great chemistry. I know that celebration the other day in the locker room, that was pretty genuine with that win over Georgia. They've got 6 wins over ranked teams. I did look at their net ranking. I mean, they're solid there, and they've got like 4 or 5 quadrant one wins. I mean, this is quite the season. She's probably going to be SEC Coach of the Year.
Yep. Who's the best player you've seen so far this year in college basketball?
Jabari Smith. Yeah,
he's pretty good.
But I will have everybody in the league this year, with the exception of Arkansas, for some reason. I just did not get them in my assignments. I mean, Shibwe is he's ridiculous in terms of what he's doing on the glass. Thinking about teams that I've seen. I mean, J.D. Davison is on everybody's first round draft board from Alabama. His decision making's got to get a lot better. But Jabari Smith, I mean, I think it's Holmgren, Smith, Bancaro from Duke. I think those are going to be the first 3 picks in the draft.
All right. You do a podcast with our good friend Steve Russell over there at WRUF called Hoop There It Is. What day? Are you alternating days, or do you have a set day you do that show?
Yeah, it's Mondays. And Tuesday, it was Tuesdays in January, but we've moved it to Mondays because of my travel schedule.
Okay, so Mondays, I believe it starts
Mondays at 11. Yeah, 11. Mondays at 11.
Okay, good stuff. Well, Mark, we appreciate you taking the time, and we'll be listening to you tomorrow night in the O'Connell Center.
All right, thanks, Shane.
Yeah, that's Mark Wise. Join us on the Titan MR hotline. Going to take a time out, come back, wrap up this Tuesday edition.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, won't back down. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Great Clips, it's gonna be great. Our Gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Celebration Point Town Center, South State Bank, Chris Doring Mortgage, Silverback Concrete Co. Some of our touchdown sponsors are MB Listing, McDonald's of Gainesville, My IT Masters, Gainesville Neon and Signs, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, Avera and Smith, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, Ruse Ogra Agent, State Farm Insurance, Silver Cube Billiards and Sports Bar. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, visit potupwithshane.com and click the Advertise button. Again, thank you to all the great businesses that support the show. If you like what we are doing here, make sure you follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security Systems Studios. Celebration Points, where the Gators go to celebrate with premium brands like Nike, Regal Cinemas, Lake Macaron, David Buster's, Medici's, Palmetto Moon, and the HBC's Restaurant Spurs Gridiron Grill, now serving brunch on Saturday and Sundays. We'll see you at Celebration Point, where the Gators go to celebrate. Don't forget, if you want to go check out the Super Bowl with Coach Spurrier, call them up and go watch the big game at Spurrier's, and Coach will take pictures, sign autographs, and all that good stuff. Tomorrow's program will have JC. We'll do our Peachland Dentistry golf picks, but also we're going to have the weekly word with Wit. Trent Whittemore will be on, and he will be interviewing Jeremy Crawshaw, the Gator punter from Australia. So it should be very, very cool. John says, Shane, can we get Amanda Scarborough and Michelle Smith on to break down softball season nationally? I will work on that, John. I'm glad you like softball. Andy says, Anthony Richardson named Nutrition Athlete of the Week and has the 5th best odds to win the Heisman Trophy. Yeah, he and like 2 other players were Nutrition Athlete of the Week, wherever the hell that is. Nobody really knows what that means. I did see Trent Whittemore was one of 3 Scholar Athletes of the Week. So there you go. Hope y'all enjoyed. There was a lot of questions on here. We just didn't have enough time to get to Mark. But again, you can hear Mark and Steve Russell every Monday at 11 a.m. on WRUF. You could send questions to Mark there or call in to that show. Andy says, yes, the McDaniel, the new coach for the Dolphins, was on the Yale football roster in 2005 as a 5'9" wideout. Yeah, I don't know where. They must have misprinted that. Maybe just never played. Maybe he's on the team. I don't know. Maybe I misread it. So who knows? But anyway, I hope you enjoyed today's program. Make sure you tune in tomorrow. And we're going to have Trent Whittem's going to have this segment every Wednesday. So if you got questions that you or people you want Trent to interview, text them to us, send it to us on Facebook Live. Today's show's a wrap, brought to you by Wrap Spot. We'll see you tomorrow, folks.